Oh, hello. I was just passing by with this menagerie of cinematic classics, and I noticed you standing there, and would you like to hear about shot-on-video horror movies? I bet you would. You clicked on this video seeing the title and the thumbnail, and I expect that you probably want to learn about shot-on-video horror movies. Yes, sirree, Bob. Who wouldn't? I'm Michael Keane. I am probably best known as a guy with a very low-ranking YouTube channel and 2 feature films under his belt. One is Fatal Future, which came out in 2018 and is an homage to Neil Breen and the So Bad They're Good movie subgenre. And of course, the latest in my oeuvre, The Head, currently available on Vimeo on demand and soon on Amazon Prime. In fact, when you watch this, it might already be on Amazon Prime. I love shot on VHS and shot on video horror movies. Now, not all shot on VHS horror movies are actually shot on VHS. Sometimes it's beta, sometimes it is broadcast. There's all kinds of types of shot on video. Let's call it shot on tape or SOV for shot on video. These are movies that a lot of the mainstream don't really give a fuck about, to be entirely honest. When I send people this movie, whether it be to just have them talk about it or whatever, usually they don't really care because it's shot on video. It's not a real movie. And I don't believe that's the case. I believe that all movies should be looked at and respected based on the quality of the content and less so what format they're shot on. Sure, 65mm is dope as hell. 35 looks sick. 16mm, mwah, classic. But videotape, just as good a storytelling device. Obviously not super in the now, but that's okay. We're all about nostalgia around these parts. Everybody loves nostalgia. Nostalgia's great, right? Right? So let's start with number 1, Boarding House. Cue the narration! Historic points go a long way, so we have to start with the OG shot-on-video horror classic Boarding House from 1983. Directed by, this guy, John Wintergate. Boarding House is notable not only for being the first of its kind, but also for really stretching the potential of shot-on-video filmmaking right out of the gate.
God damn it, where's Sherry?
She stepped out. She'll be right back.
Find her.
While he shot on broadcast video, Wintergate did so with the intention of then transferring it to film for a theatrical release. Producer Howard Willett actually paid for the aforementioned transfer on the condition that Wintergate cut out the film's comedic elements. He did so, got the transfer, an R rating from the MPAA, and yeah, a theatrical release. You heard right, this visual trash can got an actual honest-to-goodness theatrical release.
Why don't you call your agent and have your band play maybe, huh?
Yeah! It might be a little short notice, but guys would love to do it.
As far as the quality goes, Boarding House isn't my favorite shot-on-video flick, but it's certainly indicative of what you can expect. The acting ranges wildly, but is generally better than you'd think, without ever really being impressive. Character actions and motivations are nonsensical, the plot is wild, creatively buoyed by the need for a cheap production, but often feels pointless and meandering for the same reason. The lighting and general look is extremely inconsistent, bouncing between good enough and blown out garbage. And the editing, the editing.
How'd you like the house?
It's fine. It's really fine, you know. It's got a bad rep, man.
What do you mean, bad rep?
Like many So Bad They're Good movies, Boarding House gets a lot of mileage out of Wintergate's narcissistic self-casting. He's easily the worst actor of the bunch and takes any chance he can to show off that sweet bod. And of course, he's irresistible to the ladies.
Haven't you ever heard of the yogurt facial?
No, never heard of it.
Everyone's doing it now.
Girl, you need a shower.
To describe the plot of Boarding House would be a pretty futile effort. A bunch of women stay with John Wintergate in a haunted boarding house. Nightmare visuals, mutilation, and death occurs. Also, our main character has telekinetic powers.
Watch.
You make that stop move?
Yeah, it's just
Where are the
energy.
strings? Come on.
That's the movie. To try and comprehend the chopped salad editing style and preposterous subplots would only lead you to madness. Check it out.
God damn it, get the hell out of here.
So if any of that sounds fun and cool and awesome and wacky and oh man, I should get stoned and watch that, you should check out the DVD from Slasher Video. They put out a lot of great shot-on-video horror flicks. So this is probably the best release I've ever seen for a shot-on-video film. There might be better ones out there. I honestly don't know, but this is a solid release. Has audio commentary, has all sorts of behind-the-scenes knowledge, music videos, rare trailers, Q&A. Oh, and it has the original theatrical version, but also the 2.5-hour director's cut, which, why? Actually, the 2-hour director's cut, 2.5-hour director's cut, if you watch it, it has all the comedic elements that were cut out for the original release reinserted. So it actually gives you more context as to what John Wintergate was originally going for, but it is also 2.5 hours long. Next up, the one and only, from the same year, Sledgehammer. Directed by David A. Pryor, best known for Deadly Prey and the drunken David Carradine schlockterpiece Future Force, Sledgehammer was shot the year after Boarding House, although both came out in 1983, and came about because David Pryor just really wanted to make a movie. This was his first film, and he needed something quick and cheap. And so we got Sledgehammer. While it doesn't always sell, actually it almost never sells, that Pryor's apartment is the interior of the fairly impressive cabin in the hastily shot exterior scenes, there's an atmosphere throughout Sledgehammer that's almost hypnotic.
Their bodies have been crushed, pounded to a pulp.
White walls, slow motion that goes on for days, and somehow even less logic to its supernatural killer than even Boarding House would deign to give its audience.
Yeah, I know. I want him too, but we gotta figure out what the hell's going on, calm down, and figure out what we're gonna do about it.
This is a classic example of doing a lot with very little. Sledgehammer shows off some of the more unfortunate but charming elements inherent in the shot-on-video horror subgenre. Many of these, like the slow-motion padding and the prolonged, seemingly improvised food fight sequence, have aged like a fine wine. While many at the time of Sledgehammer's release may have despised these elements, they've become more and more charming over the years. That said, not everything requires nostalgia glasses to work here. The special effects are actually shockingly good, albeit extremely low budget. Obviously, they're no Tom Savini, but what we get is often imaginative and grotesque. The video look only adds to their grisly glory, of course, not to mention the dreamlike atmosphere. As with Boarding House, there are a lot of caveats to really enjoying Sledgehammer. No, it is not a traditionally good film, but if you can accept the cheap quality for what it is and let yourself become immersed in the sheer absurdity of what you're seeing, I think you'll have a good time.
How do we get roped into this? Who the hell knows what's going on? Hey man, you been getting some care of that, man?
Shit, you kidding? All the time.
Is that right? Yeah. Shit, I ain't been doing so good myself.
Do you believe that, Chuck? He poured mustard all over my head.
The DVD for Sledgehammer is from Intervision, which you might know as an imprint of Severin films. It's a solid DVD. It's not as stuffed with extras like Boarding House is, but it has quite a few. It has, actually, is it two? Yeah, two audio commentaries for the one movie, including one with the director. So highly recommend this DVD. I love this movie. It's so technically awful, but charming, and I would actually say probably David A. Pryor's best movie. I know that's controversial amongst all of three people.
What do you want me to do? I just want you to have a good time.
Next up, not the one that started it all, but the one that pretended to, Blood Cult. Billed as the first movie made for the home video market, Blood Cult is perhaps the easiest shot-on-video flick for the average moviegoer to watch. It's not particularly offensive, is generally well lit, and features a story that actually makes sense on the first viewing. That's not to say the narrative is anything to write home about, but a little logic goes a long way in this game. For those looking for a whole lot of what the fuckery, fear not. Blood Cult isn't devoid of bonkers nonsense. An entire scene is made up of an exterior shot with voiceover playing out. Our protagonist is an elderly sheriff, and we get actual salad fingers. I don't have a whole lot to say about Blood Cult. It was one of my first entries into the genre, and while I've seen far better and more entertaining since then, I think the more professional quality of the filmmaking makes it a solid choice for those coming in on the ground floor.
May I have my coffee now, please? Doc?
So the DVD for Blood Cult is a VCI release. VCI does very cheap DVD releases, but they put a fair amount of work into these. You can actually get this with its sequel in a double pack. Bellicle 2 is actually, it's shot on 16 millimeter, so I don't fucking own it, but you can do that. This one does have audio commentaries as well, so a solid release. Again, recommended. These are all recommended because they're all great releases, but none are as recommended as our next film. This one, oh, I'm excited for you. If you haven't seen this movie and you watch it because of this video, I've served my purpose in this world. I can go to whatever pit of hell I'm destined for. This is amazing. Blonde Death.
See where it gets you. But when they find your mutilated body dumped beside a freeway, don't you ever say that you didn't have the chance to fall in step with Christ.
I hate you. You're crazy, you demented redneck bitch.
Finally, the GOAT. This one wasn't really the first of anything per se, but those getting into SOV horror need to see this because it's proof that truly great cinema can come from the format. It's the ultimate thesis for my theory that a film's quality exists far beyond whatever format it's shot on. The screenplay by novelist James Robert Baker, credited in the film as John Dillinger, is a quick-witted, grungy, satirical send-up of exploitation tropes. It's not necessarily a straight-up horror film, but does deal with enough death and mayhem to be included in the ranks. The story follows wayward teen Tammy, who's left alone by her parents and quickly gets herself into trouble. First by befriending a one-eyed lesbian, and then by falling in with an escaped inmate. From there, things become, as one Letterboxd reviewer describes it, a mix of Badlands and desperate living. And oh, things get very fucked up, all in the name of giving a great big middle finger to every element of the modern establishment, media, religion, and anything else Baker even remotely dislikes. It's a cavalcade of fuck you.
Damn it. I just want you to kiss me.
Given a proper budget and film stock in place of tape, I honestly believe Baker could have been the next John Waters, if not someone more mainstream. Think Tarantino levels of quality writing that, given the chance, is sure to suck in any viewer willing to contend with the janky visuals. Blonde Death, through all of its comedic hijinks, predatory lesbianism, and on-location Disneyland filming that has to be seen to be believed, is both a smart and profoundly angry film.
Monstrosity, a demented cacophony of castrated dread. Look at all these mindless, dackball vermin.
Baker attended UCLA Film School for 5 years and won the Samuel Goldwyn Writing Award, before more or less absconding with his knowledge to take up novel writing. Baker hated the Hollywood system, saying in a 1993 interview, "I felt like a door-to-door salesman going to all these pitch meetings." He follows up by describing the film executives as rabid, hideous morons. His anger was palpable, and it shows in every frame of Blonde Death. Sadly, this great writer, quite possibly the most talented and pure artist to ever try his hand at the shot-on-video genre, killed himself in 1997 at the age of 51. Not only was this the loss of a great talent, but by all accounts, a great human as well. In an alternate dimension, I'd like to think that the public was less antagonistic towards the format, and that Blonde Death was given the accolades it deserved, and thus a more robust career for its creator, who might have been given far more reason to continue on. Anyway, the further life, times, and art of James Robert Baker is a story for another video. The point is, out of all these recommendations, Blonde Death is the one I'd put at the top of the pile. It's not quite as polished as Blood Cult, but it's easily the most well-written and rewatchable film in the SOV ranks. The Blonde Death DVD is not full of special features. It has an interview with Sarah Lee Wade, who plays Tammy, and trailers, and an interview with Easy TV founder John Doerr. It's fine. It's a fine DVD. The main thing is you want to get this. It's from Mondo Video and Bleeding Skull, and again, not the most staggeringly feature-packed DVD. It's easily the one with the least number of features in this whole collection, but the movie itself is well worth the cost. All of these movies are available in various streaming formats. I don't think any of them legally. I highly recommend you buy these on disc. None of them are expensive. Check it out. And finally, if you are really, really into this and you want to deep dive into shot-on-VHS and shot-on-video cinema, definitely check out Analog Nightmares by Richard Mogg. This book is absolutely staggering. It covers, let's see if I can, covers so much of shot-on-video history. It's 1982 through 1995, and it's, I'm pretty sure, literally every single movie you could possibly watch that was shot on video between those years. It is an amazing tome. Richard Mogg, he's a very talented writer. He's actually a pretty talented director as well. And just highly recommend this book. It should be available on Amazon still. Well worth the cost. It is, as you can see, a thick tome. So get that book. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you want to check out my Patreon, I got that going on. That I have exclusive videos for patrons as well as behind the scenes material. I'm actually going to be starting pre-production on a new movie soon, and I'll be adding some behind the scenes stuff exclusively there. It's not going to be anywhere else. It's just there. I'm not even going to talk about the movie elsewhere. It's all going to be on my Patreon, so please check that out. Otherwise, let's see. I got my Twitter, @Michael Keane. I got my Facebook, which is also just Michael Keane. Those are linked below. And of course, check out The Head on VOD right now. We will have a limited edition VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray coming out relatively soon, but if you don't need the physical media and you just want to stream it, it's there. Share my channel, subscribe, let your friends know about it. I'm all about positivity, so I don't really get a lot of traction because I'm not shitting on movies constantly. So please, if you want just positive outlooks on filmmaking, thoughts on obscure titles like the ones we talked about today, please think about giving me a subscribe, share on your Facebook, Twitter, whatever weird like BDSM-centered social media you happen to have. Please share me, and yeah, go watch a movie, buckaroo.